Hey everyone, thank you for stopping in. Today we are with Laura at Dehn's. She's my favorite flower person on the planet. She's incredible. We have worked with her many times doing different shoots and weddings and stuff, and she's phenomenal. She goes way above and beyond what she's asked to do every single time. So we are here today. We are going to kind of get the rundown of what it's like to, from our very first communication of, hey, what do we do? We're getting married, we need flowers, to the very end when everything's getting picked up. So, Laura, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and take it away.
Okay, a little bit about me. I work as one of the head florists here at Dehn's. Dehn's Flowers has been in service for 130 years. And with that comes an amazing amount of experience and a sense of family, because this is family owned and operated. And we invite all brides to come in and actually meet with our staff. Although obviously with the increased use of technology, we try to do Zoom calls or even phone calls, because we do have a lot of out-of-state guests that come in and actually do destination weddings here at Saratoga Springs. My experience is actually an art background. You'll find a lot of florists are actually kind of essentially more like sculptors. We know a lot about our product, and we want to make it shine for every bride that comes in on their special day.
So if I were a bride and I were to come in and say, hey, we're getting married, well, first let's start with this. How far out should we be planning?
It's a great question. I would have to say that if you have the capability to try to do it a year in advance. Now, every bride's vision changes as they go about the process of picking out their dress and picking out their venues, but having your florist save the date does two things. One, it allows the florist to make sure that she doesn't give your date to somebody else. A florist needs to be able to focus solely on your wedding in order to make sure that everything is in peak condition when it arrives to you. And then the second aspect of doing it ahead of time is making sure that florists can actually track down those special items that you're looking for. Certain items that just aren't available during certain parts of the year. Especially with the aftermath of pandemic, things have kind of changed a little bit. And so that kind of makes it a little bit more challenging, but every good florist enjoys a challenge.
Right. Okay, so I am communicating with you for the first time. You said I could do a phone call or a FaceTime. What are some things that we're going to talk about right off the bat?
So the main points that somebody should have prior to coming to some sort of an interview process with your florist is an understanding of exactly what you're looking for. You don't have to have your venue picked out right away. You don't have to have your ceremony location picked out right away. The only opinion that I would like to put forth is that if you can get a good understanding of what your vision is for your actual dress, I would say 99% of the time, the brides who have a most coherent and focused idea for their theme of their wedding have already purchased the dress. There's something about the magic of a dress that just makes it so that, makes it so that you really know which direction you're going. It'll also give the florist a lot of direction too. Certain dresses are more floofier than others, and that definitely makes a difference on what a florist may actually offer as an option. The one thing I also want to point out when you come in with visuals. Florists are artists, and the easiest way to communicate with an artist is by visuals. Show me what you're looking at on Pinterest. Show me what so-and-so showed you over at a bridal show. Show me what is really inspiring you. Is it pictures? Is it colors? Is it a specific kind of flower? There are a lot of springtime brides that love pansies. They love them. They are limited as far as what season they grow the best at. And so it's important to have kind of those ideas and pictures of those so that when you're talking with your florist, they're confident in what kind of look that you're going for. Sometimes one person's idea of blush is another person's idea of pink, and we all know how much everybody loves blush from lots of weddings.
Right.
So I just really want to stress that, because I mean that opens up a world of communication that's more accurate than just words.
So what if I don't exactly have my venue picked out yet? What information do you still need to know, even if I don't have that figured out?
For the first interview, when you're still picking out your florist, you really don't have to have those kinds of numbers. Hopefully, as you're communicating with your florist, you'll be able to figure out, the florist will figure out what kind of questions they should ask you. But keep in mind that a lot of venues and ceremony spaces have a lot of new rules. That means there's issues with live flame. There's issue with certain electronics. Sometimes people want to have fairy lights and arrangements, but there isn't enough of a power source to actually do something like that. So batteries are involved. Keep in mind that certain ceremonial spaces, they're off limits. Sometimes altars will not let us put floral arrangements on there. So it's important to ask those questions in the future. If you don't have those answers for the first interview, that's fine. But it's important to kind of keep it in the back of your head as you're having that first conversation.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that, and I'm a photographer, so but I guess by the time I get there, it's all done, so I don't even have to think about the process. But yeah, like a power source, if you have lights running through your garland or whatever, stuff like that, good things to think about.
So the next kind of aspect, after you've kind of met and have a good understanding of the personality of your florist, and you feel like you've really clicked and you feel like you're really starting to dream big dreams, and you've saved the date, the florist usually leaves you with some homework. The homework would be, okay, questions about what does that mother-in-law want to wear? Do they want a wristlet? Do they want a pin corsage? Do they want nothing? Do they want a single rose to carry? Other important questions that probably will be part of your homework is, do you want to leave a memorial single rose for somebody who has passed? These are kind of important little sweet little details that kind of bring like really who you are to that arrangement of your event. And I think that having those kind of homework questions after will help you dream big, so that by the time you kind of re-meet back with your florist after most of your details are kind of complete, you'll be ready for all of those hard-hitting questions. Which kind of brings me to like that next aspect of like what happens. Like I've saved my date, right. And now I'm going crazy, going to figure all these finalized details and picking out my bridesmaids' dresses. After that, then there's kind of this nice little wait period. Where your florist will continue to talk back and forth with vendors. One of the biggest areas for vendors, people who provide flowers for other people, are going to be South America and Ecuador. That's where you're going to get your best roses for the most part these days. You're going to want to get other flowers like your sunflowers or your tulips if you're interested in those. You want to get those from Canada. Your florist will talk with these different vendors from different locations, which brings us to that all-important question about seasonal flowers. There are a lot of brides that will come in and will want a specific flower that just, even if we purchased it from Holland and shipped it over, it would be so dinky and tiny that it would be such a disappointment. And nobody wants to be disappointed if they have a love of a specific flower.
Right.
The florist will continue to negotiate with vendors to try to find the best quality product that they can for the brides. So that when they re-meet, which usually should be around 2 months to 30 days prior to event, they'll have a good idea of what they can actually offer the bride based on what's available.
There's a lot of planning and work that goes into this. This is great. This is incredible information. I didn't know like any of this, so very good.
So the next part, really what it comes down to is as your bride is dreaming big and getting their finalized their dress and everything, and your florist is gathering all the flowers, and then you meet for that 30-day period of time, this is the time where you kind of iron out all your details. Not all florists need that 30 days, but I would highly suggest it for every bride, because you never know how that vision is going to change within those months.
Right.
You may buy a different dress. You may not be able to get your bridesmaid colors, and so you've changed your color theme. For the most part, most florists will be able to handle a 30-day difference and be able to kind of switch things up where they can. With Dehn's Flowers, we try to tell every bride to make sure that they've kind of finalized everything in 30 days. It's not that we can't try to accommodate, but again, dealing with the post-pandemic situations, sometimes there just isn't enough lead time to be able to ship something from Holland if we have to.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So as you're going over those last minute details, because most vendors for the reception sites are now really requiring people to have their count about 30 days in advance. Your ceremonial spaces will want to count about 30 days in advance, so you have a good idea of where everybody's going to be and how many people you're going to have in your party. After you've gone over all of those details, and you feel confident with what's being actually described, like here in Dehn's, we do like a workup packet. We have an estimate because everybody in Dehn's here does customized wedding packages. We don't actually do like a cookie cutter, because I don't think that's fair to the brides. I don't think that really expresses who they are. And because of that, we have a packet that we fill out, and after the first interview, we provide that packet so that the brides and their loved ones can kind of look over things, and as they're continuing to change their vision, they can then write notes on that packet to make sure that they kind of have that kind of good idea of where the florist and the bride is sitting.
Okay.
So that packet definitely would be something that we would then be going over in that 30 days, and having it in writing kind of makes it a little bit more solid and concrete. One of the biggest complaints I've heard other florists talk about is sometimes the communication between the bride and the vision of the florist don't match up. And we really strive. So that's why I say visuals are key, because it's the vocabulary that florists can just absorb. And having those two kind of meet is just the difference between an overjoyed bride and a bride who's just like, they were pretty. Like nobody wants to feel, they were pretty. You want wow. And with that, I'd also like to kind of just go back just a little bit. There's something else that you should also consider when you're talking about what you're getting for you yourself, the bride. And that is sizing and shape of arrangements. Really, when you are looking at yourself in the mirror and you envision yourself in your dress, you have to take in consideration that if you are a small frame person, you need a smaller arrangement. You do not want a ginormous, spread out, asymmetrical, gorgeous, but it overpowers you as who you are, which is the most important, which is the bride.
And they get heavy.
They're super
Mine was
heavy.
Huge, and it was gorgeous, but by the end of the day, my arms were tired.
Absolutely.
They get very, very heavy.
But yeah, it really, what it comes down to, you have to take in consideration that size, that volume, which is so popular these days. I mean, they're gorgeous and they're so full. But keep in mind, if you're a short stature person, you don't want to overpowering you so that people are spending more time focusing on that than your beautiful face.
Right. And your dress, if it's completely covering your dress, if you spent so much time picking out that gorgeous dress and all the details, and
you don't want to overpower that, and then nobody gets to see it in those photographs. Because really, the photographs are the thing that's going to last for forever, that you're going to look back on. And so you want to make sure that the representation of your day actually shows all of that hard work that you put into doing those details.
Right. Balance. I was just talking to Tara at Azaleas, and we were talking about balance with the jewelry and the dress and the veil, and the same thing I'm sure would go with the flowers, then just a good balance.
Yeah, you'd be shocked at how sometimes even the simplest bouquet with just straight roses, people are like, oh, it's not as exciting as one of those big monstrosities. But for that person, for that dress, it was so spot on. It was just who they were. And that's why I really, we try to encourage brides to come in and meet with us face to face. We really get a good idea of their personality, their likes and their dislikes. And, you know, a good example would be, we had a couple, they were so sweet, they were so amazing. They really loved comic books. So we made boutonniere holders out of comic book pages.
Oh, fun.
And in the brides, we made paper flowers made out of comics that we then inserted into the bouquet. So because of that, because of the customization that we offer, we have a higher probability of being able to really express who the couple is and what they're about.
And it's amazing with just little details can really bring out the personality of somebody.
Absolutely.
I love it.
And again, back to the photographs, being able to look back on those pictures and being able to see all those details and be like, we chose that because of this.
Right. And we love that. When we walk in as photographers and we see all these little details, it's really just bringing to life who the people are. Like, oh, picture, take a picture of that. We love it.
Exactly. And it just makes it such a more special thing to look back on, because the day while it's going is just such a rush and it's like so exciting, and it's almost like you have like amnesia afterwards. You have like no idea what happened. So yeah, just being able to really, for us here, really being able to express the personalities of the bride and groom really is what we really strive for. Because like I said, we're family operated. We're all about family. We've been here for years. We know all of the locals.
Right.
And that just makes a huge difference in making sure that we're taking care of the bride and groom. And you know, as far as the day, and as you get closer to your event and all those details are coming together, like here at Dehn's, we usually start prepping about a week in advance. We'll usually have 2 team members who will be working on just that wedding, because it's your day.
Right.
Very rarely do we ever schedule more than 1 wedding a weekend.
Okay.
We try to make sure that every bride really has the full focus of the staff, which makes us a little different than other ones. But at the same time, I feel that that kind of focus is the difference between wow,
Oh, definitely.
you know, and not.
All this planning is coming together. We are walking into the venue. What happens? It is the wedding day. We're so excited. What do you guys do, or what do I need to do?
Okay, so at least with Dehn's, but hopefully with every florist, you don't see us.
Okay.
We are the silent but deadly crew that comes in there and makes that space so gorgeous you're wowed when you walk in. The caveat to that is you should probably designate somebody who is your point of contact for your florist. Okay. Sometimes snafus do happen, and you don't want to be bothered by that, but you want somebody who can make some good decisions during that time. Sometimes spaces, the person who is supposed to open up a venue or church isn't there on time. You want to have a point of contact to have those kinds of discussions with. A very organized bride will try to provide the florist with other numbers, like the venue numbers, or for example, like the photographer's numbers, so that they can try to coordinate with each other. The flowers need to be able to arrive before the photographer shows up, so that their time is being wisely used instead of waiting for the florist. Also, you want to make sure that if anything needs to be pre-done in advance, so like say for example, something needs to be at the church or ceremony venue prior to the rehearsal, that those items are already in place and ready for you and ready to go. So as I said, the week before, we're doing flowers, we're prepping things, because flowers need time. The flowers that come in from the venue, from the vendors, they're not open.
Oh.
They are absolutely closed shut.
Okay.
They need to be chemically changed so that all the bacteria that can be found on their leaves are taken off, because that's what causes flowers to rot fast.
Oh, see, I'm not a flower person. I don't know any of this. This is very good to know.
One of the main mistakes that you'll see certain people make is they will do one of 2 things. They will try to bring fruit or vegetables and insert them into their flower bouquets. And the reason why this doesn't work too well is that the gases that are produced by those items actually cause the aging process of flowers to happen quicker.
Oh, okay.
So if you put, say for example, a rose next to an apple, you're going to find that the life of the rose is going to actually be cut in half.
Wow, okay.
So you have to, the florist takes all these things into consideration. We'll help mold you and shape you into where you need to go. But the life of flowers is super important in making sure that they're as fresh as possible. So they're put into, essentially, their stems are chemically washed, taking the bacteria, which ages them faster. And that takes about 4 days, 3 days prior to event. We make them all pretty. We spray them with a special preservative to help keep all the beautiful petals open and gorgeous. And then we get up really early in the morning, the day of the wedding, and put everything together.
Wow, okay.
For the most part, you should expect that you will need at least an hour for reception hall setup. And probably around 30 minutes to an hour for ceremony. Sometimes that's more. If you have a large arch arrangement, it could be upwards of 4 to 5 hours prior to event your florist will be working on, depending on how big it is. And because of that, your florist will have already discussed these items with you at your interview, but keep that in mind that as you're talking with your venue people, that there needs to be enough time for your florist to actually create items.
Right.
I'll never forget, I had to do a whole bunch of decoration on an ice sculpture, and it was really intense because you have to be careful. The ice can actually freeze the petals of your roses. I learned that the hard way. So you have to kind of be careful, and you need that time to then actually arrange on site. A lot of florists, including us, try to minimize that time as much as possible. So that we're really only delivering everything that we possibly can already prearranged, because we don't want to charge the bride more for having to arrange on site. Something else to consider with venues is when we are doing our timing of coming in, keep in mind that with receptions, with tableware, and all the kinds of linens that are required, everything needs to be down first before they allow the flowers to put things up. So if you're looking for some kind of arrangement that has to be made that day on that table at that time, you have to make sure you make arrangements with your reception venue so that those linens are already down and ready to go.
Wow, a lot of pre-planning. A lot of pre-planning goes into this.
And for brides that are more hands-on, it's important information. There are a lot of venues that, especially in Saratoga, where they'll take care of all those details and you'll never even know it was even a conversation between the florist and your venue.
Wow, okay, good.
So once, basically the timing, how it works for most florists is we deliver the bridal party first, because with photographers, they're gonna wanna take those cameo shots first.
Right.
And then after that, we go to their ceremony site if it's separate from the venue. And then we'll do that until just about the time when the wedding is actually taking place. We really do cut it very close, because sometimes the lighting especially in some of the churches, the lighting that's on some of those altars are actually really hot. So you have to make sure that you kind of make sure that the amount of heat that you're dealing with is actually more controlled. So we'll do the ceremony site then, and afterwards we'll go to the reception site. By that time they usually have the linens down, and we begin the actual reception site design work. Something on a side note, as you're looking and talking with other florists, you're going to find that they have different ways of billing. Billing's kind of an interesting kind of situation. Here at Dehn's, we don't require any kind of money really up front except for $50 for save the date. But keep in mind that a lot of florists will need payment in advance. We do about a week. There are some other florists that do about a month in advance, depending on what kind of flowers you're choosing and where they're shipping from. If you're doing all orchids, they're probably going to require a little bit more payment up front, just because orchids are tricky. They're very sensitive to heat. They're very sensitive to chemicals. And because of that, you have to be very careful when handling them. They're gorgeous. Don't get me wrong. Well, I love all flowers. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. But yeah, for the most part, as far as payment, there are everybody kind of does it differently.
Okay.
But keep in mind that part of your budget will have to be payment for actual transportation. And that means that if I have to go all the way up to Brant Lake, it's going to be a little bit different charge than if I just go right next door over to the casino.
Right.
So as you're doing your budget, you'll have to think about how much you want to spend on each item. Usually the most expensive item, of course, is the bridal bouquet, as far as individual items. And then the biggest portion of your budget, if you have a large quantity of guests, is going to be that reception hall. Which brings us back to us making those arrangements and getting them for the reception hall. It could be something small. It could be picnic tables, or it could be, the size of the wedding isn't necessarily as important as just the understanding of the space.
Okay.
So, one of the things that we have to deal with is if we're not familiar with the space, the florist will visit the space. You can get the measurements for the tables. The difference between a round table and a rectangular table will actually change probably what the florist will want you to choose for the reception.
Okay.
It's kind of like, there are a couple things of how florists put things together, but essentially the arrangement that you put on a table should reflect the size and shape of the table.
Right.
Something else to consider that florists are always thinking about is what kind of table is it? If you're dealing with high bar tables, you're going to want shorter arrangements. You have an 8-person banquet table, round. You're still going to want your arrangements to sit anywhere around like 12 to like 14 inches. You really don't want to be not able to talk to your cousin from Iowa because you've got a giant rose right in your face.
Right, or rearranging the table.
Yeah, everybody's, how you doing? And of course, like I said, the florist will be asking these kinds of questions, but keep that in mind that during that day of, that florist is still looking at that.
Right.
And they may need to change things because the tables are too high. Or they may change things around because the sweetheart table that you were told you were going to get for that venue suddenly was changed at the last hour.
Okay.
Those kinds of things happen, and hopefully you never know. That's the point. Like I said, florists are usually seen and not heard.
Right. Yeah, our goal is always to make sure that the bride and groom don't know that anything went wrong, or anything wasn't supposed to be how it was, and they can find out 10 years down the road. But don't go to them and say, hey, we have this problem. They don't need that stress. They don't. So the behind the scenes is perfect. Try to get it all done and fixed without them knowing. It's perfect.
Absolutely. And here at Dehn's, we try to make sure that we try to find the most creative ways to be able to handle certain challenges. There's always challenges that are involved. Not necessarily the day of, but even while you're discussing with your other venues, they have certain rules, or they have certain places you're not allowed to decorate. That's part of a custom package. You just can't beat that.
Right.
So yeah, and the point is to just be seen and not heard. Nobody has to hear about the silliness of, there was one less table and it was moved over there and we had to bring it back up. Nobody needs to hear any of that. Because
none of the drama.
None of the drama. And that's what makes a great professional in any field, is
Absolutely.
being able to mitigate those challenges so that the bride and the groom just feel absolutely fabulous when they walk in.
Absolutely. That is number one goal, for sure.
Truly, not to toot my own horn, but Dehn's is special. It is. There are a lot of places out there. They'll do cookie cutter things. Stuff that you see, it'll be exactly like it is on Pinterest. There is an aspect of having somebody who is an artist do work for you.
Right.
And Dehn's just does it so well. Just all the stuff. They work so hard to try to bring everybody's imagination to life, and that's why I like to tell everybody about it.
And that's why I absolutely love working with you, Laura, because I can come in with, if we're doing a style shoot, and I come in with, hey, I have these couple pictures, and you obviously know me, and we've worked together a lot, but I just feel like you're able to just know what I'm thinking and just that creativeness, because when it comes to flowers, that's a rose. I have no clue what that thing is, and I don't know what that is. So like I know nothing about flowers, and to be able to go to somebody who like that is their passion, but people are also their passion, and you put those two together and you get dynamite. Like
absolutely
somebody who really like that is all they want to do is just make people happy with their creativeness and what they love to do and their passion. And that's why I always come to you, Laura. You are my #1 girl. I come to you and I just, you make magic happen. And I feel like you don't get that with everybody. You don't get that with, you know, these cookie cutter places. You definitely see the passion just like flowing through you, and I love it. I love it. You're amazing.
Thank you.
I'll toot your horn.
Thank you. That was very sweet of you to say, but I totally agree with you. I couldn't be more passionate about the people that I meet and about the flowers, and just how it's kind of like a language.
Yes.
It really is. And, you know, whether it be something that's for a loved one, or, you know, if it's for a special occasion, you'd be shocked at the kind of things that you can tell people just by offering just some flowers.
Right. That's something else I want to talk about too real quick before we go, is just what all you do here. Sounds weird. But what all you offer, like your Valentine's and Christmas and stuff. You're not just weddings. So like if somebody walks into your store or calls you, like, you know, we deliver flowers to the hospital, like what all do you guys do?
Okay, so we are a full service florist. And what that means is that we actually have 22 greenhouses behind this shop.
Wow.
We don't use them all the time. Half of them are actually used towards the seeding and planting. It also means for us is that we have connections with local farmers. I cannot stress enough, if you have a chance to be able to buy local from your florist, that is the way to go. We have a special farmer that provides us with all of our panties, so we don't have to order them from across seas. We have another farmer that delivers all of our fresh sunflowers during the fall season. As far as what we offer, well, we're open all year round. Things you can look forward to other than just your average bare holidays. Our biggest season, other than wedding season, which is kind of a little bit different since the fall seasons are becoming extremely popular right now.
Oh, okay.
Is our actual biggest part of the year is probably Mother's Day.
Oh, it's a big one.
It's a big one. And there are a lot of weddings that are scattered along in May as well. So we do weddings, we do full service delivery. Of course, we do sympathy work as well. We service a large quantity of different kinds of occasions. We really cater to all of Saratoga's needs and actually beyond. We do weddings or events in general to other locations. We've got a couple that are at the Omnia Hotel in Albany. We go as far as Lake George. It really is just dependent upon who calls. What do you need? How can we help you? Right. And that's a huge difference between just your average bare florist.
Right.
Because we also provide indoor plants. If you need staging plants, we have those. We'll have the big ferns that everybody likes to put in the corner for some reason.
Something has to go in the corner.
Exactly. So Dehn's has something that a lot of people don't have anymore. In fact, I think we're the last full service florist in the area.
Wow. Okay.
There's one I think that's left that's in Glens Falls, and that's it.
Okay.
And because of that, that opens a lot of opportunity for any kind of event or a gift. I mean, we do dish gardens, and people just, they're the greatest gift of all. It's just a living plant. You know, you would never think so, but they don't die.
Right.
So you can enjoy them for many, many months or possibly years, depending on what you get. Other than that, that's, you know, having that kind of large quantity of variety makes us a great stop. It just does. Right. And we've got gift shops in both locations in Boston Spa and Saratoga.
I know you have so many like little yeah, like little gift ideas. My daughter's here and she was like, oh mom, I like this. And she kept bringing stuff to me as I was setting up. Very nice. I love it. Very good. All right. Well, Laura, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for talking to us and educating our brides and our grooms, and just letting them know what to ask and what to expect when they come in and talk to their florist. So thank you very much.
Thank you.